In our previous episode, our boy began spreading high-level techniques to boost the strength of the average martial artist. After tweaking with Zhao Ji's memory, how can we forget about our boy almost ended up going the widow route? However, after turning her down, instead of being mad, she seemed more worried about the trouble he might get into for not handing over the energy crystals. She explains that he could be in serious trouble if he keeps the crystals. She brings up the guides, saying they're not from this planet at all, and notes they actually come from across the universe and are part of some advanced martial civilization. She suggests that even when comparing martial artists of the same level, the difference in strength between the two planets is just way too massive, and he must not forget these guides are also 10th level. She falls quiet for a moment, then gently urges him to really think it through, even if he's powerful. Lu Sheng doesn't argue but notices she seems to know quite a bit about the guides and the civilization behind them, so he asks her to keep explaining. She casually brushes her hair aside and admits she's not an expert, just someone who's lived long enough to hear a lot. Then she led him to a room, and after a few clicks a projection appeared in front of them. She zooms in and shows him a map of the universe. Pointing to Earth, she explains that their planet is actually just a level 1 resource planet in the Sky Serpent galaxy. The guides, on the other hand, are from a powerful battlefield planet. It's the first time Lu Sheng hears these terms, so he asks if they're part of some kind of classification system used by advanced martial civilizations. Lin Zhengyue confirms that's exactly it, and reveals that planets get ranked based on their properties. For instance, their planet has energy crystals which are very valuable but not abundant in quantity, so it gets labeled a level 1 resource planet. As for battlefield planets, she assumed those are probably located near the front lines against the beasts, where things get much more intense. She elaborated that it's kind of like how their own planet has those guarded caverns and fissures. She goes on to list other types, like garden planets, which are scenic but low in resources and less advanced, or civil planets, which are good for living in. Then there are trash planets, which are literal junkyards of the universe. But the bottom line is the higher the planet's level, the more important it is. After hearing all that, Lu Sheng reflects on how similar this ranking system is to their own society. He declares that even in a huge universe, wherever there are people, the systems aren't all that different. Lin Zhengyue adds something a bit more serious, stating that according to the guides, any planet has the chance of turning into a battlefield planet, and further reveals that when beasts invade and things get bad enough, that's exactly what could happen. And in the end, she warns, their planet already shows signs of heading in that direction. Lu Sheng then asks what exactly she meant. That's when Lin Zhengyue explains that every 10 years, the guides show up. While collecting resources, they also check the level of beast invasions. It was then that Lu Sheng pointed out that perhaps the threat of beast invasions isn't just local, it's a universe-wide thing. She confirms it, replying that every civilization out there is doing what they can to deal with the problem. After that, the two of them spent a bit more time sharing information back and forth. Once that's done, Lu Sheng finally lets out a long sigh of relief. He remarks how things are getting more transparent, while noting the invasion problem is way bigger than he originally imagined. But realizing that actually makes him feel lighter. He figures if the sky really does fall, there are taller folks out there to hold it up. He no longer feels like he's got to play the role of some kind of lone savior, and reflects on the idea that with great power comes great responsibility. However, he feels that no matter what the future holds, what truly matters right now is helping their planet grow stronger. If he can keep doing that, he's already making tons of contributions. Lin Zhengyue continues, saying that according to the guides, their planet will eventually become a full-on battlefield, and when that happens, humans won't be able to live on it anymore. But she shrugs and says it's something that might not happen for who knows how many years. After saying that, she even seems to relax a bit, thinking that if nothing unexpected happens, she'll probably live out her days in this relatively peaceful era. But just as she finishes that thought, Lu Sheng's expression shifts. He quickly cuts her off and warns her in a serious tone, telling her not to jinx it. Lin Zhengyue is caught off guard, claps her hand over her mouth in surprise, and asks what he means. But our boy decides it's better if he just changes the subject instead. He asks if she's ever thought about leaving the planet. She thought for a moment, then admitted she really hasn't. What she wants most is a quiet life with a big family. Ever since becoming a mom, she felt more and more that the martial path is a never-ending path. She explained that many years ago she also dreamed of reaching the peak, but that's all it's ever been, a dream. She figures she has hit her limit as a martial saint, and since she already spent too much of her life on martial arts, now all she wants is to save some time for herself, for the things she actually wants to do. After a moment of reflection, she turns back to our boy and says, if he ever plans to leave the planet, she warns, he absolutely can't afford to make enemies of the guides. She explains that both the path to reaching the 10th level and the path beyond are all controlled by the guides. Right now, their own technology isn't even close to building anything that can travel through space. Lu Sheng doesn't respond, but in his mind he agrees with everything she said. Getting off this planet isn't just about growing stronger. Without high-level technology, it's a dead end. Although he doesn't know whether a 10th level could achieve it or not. He knows for a fact that a martial saint's body is simply not enough to travel through the universe. However, Lu Sheng tells her not to worry, saying he knows what he's doing. Lin Zhengyue realizes there's not much more she can say, so she shifts the conversation to the advanced technology of the guides. Time passes, and out of nowhere, she playfully asks if he'd ever consider her daughter. Lu Sheng pretends not to hear, and quickly changes the subject. However, a random thought creeps into his head. What if, maybe, just maybe if Snowy agrees one day, he might be forced and perhaps reluctantly to marry a few wives. Still, that thought disappeared as fast as it came. He declares to himself that he probably should just stick to one partner. Now the question is, would this choice leave our boy's other waifu heartbroken? Anyways, after hours of chatting, Lin Zhengyue invites him to stay for dinner. He agrees and goes along with it. Others are there too, many of her students as well as some familiar faces like Dong Shengyi and Wan Wan. By the time Lu Sheng gets home, it's already nighttime. He closes his eyes and enters the dream realm. There, he calls for Ai, hoping to dig up info about what's beyond the stars, but he wasn't allowed to access that info, at least for now. What's strange is that his access level hasn't changed and he is still stuck at level 10. He wonders if he needs to truly become the 9th level or beat a 10th level opponent to unlock higher access. He then checks his updated personal record, which reveals that he took 3 direct hits from a 10th level guide and survived. After recovery, he then broke through to the 9th level 3 years later. He sees this and doesn't worry. In fact, he smiles. Although according to this prediction, he's still not enough to beat a guide, but at least he can survive, and that's exactly what he wants. The kind of strength that flirts with death but can't actually kill him. With this very pressure, he believes, will certainly push him further. But the smile fades just as quickly, because the timeline says that 5 years after that, he dies, during the Battle of Earth's destruction, at the age of 28. He freezes, and realizes it's not just him who dies this time. The entire planet will go down with him. He then wonders for a possible explanation. If the records hadn't changed again, then this had to be the dream realm's best simulation in the most likely future based on all current info. Lu Sheng figures something crucial must have happened. Something he either missed or that hadn't been included. He starts digging, flipping through everything he can while brainstorming non-stop. In the end, he comes to a conclusion, which is for Earth to be destroyed even after he breaks through to the 9th level. It couldn't have been the work of just a 10th level. He suggests that only a being of the 11th level or higher could have done it. But where could they possibly come from? They'd either come from the higher level planets or crawl out of the cavern underground. Instinctively, he recalls the creature he once encountered in the fissure. If it was that thing, then he believed it certainly had the strength to do so. Still, he knows nothing shown here is certain. But this also makes him a bit anxious. He declares he's completely in the dark as he's got no solid clues. Frustrated, he stomps the ground. Then he grumbles to himself, thinking maybe this is all Lin Zhengyue's fault. If she hadn't jinxed it with that talk of living peacefully till old age, maybe this world-ending disaster wouldn't have been triggered. After all, she said that in the morning, and by night, here we are, with an apocalypse warning. He vents for a bit, but he knows he's got 8 years left before he hits 28 years old, and that gives him a lot of room to maneuver. Right now, it might look like a death sentence, but who knows what 8 years have down the line. And even if he can't win, he can still run, and worst case, he could still get his loved ones and friends out. But then he goes quiet. He stares at the sunset, at the broken streets, wondering if he could really just abandon billions of people and walk away like it's nothing. He takes a long, deep breath, and then his gaze sharpens. At that very moment, he decides that he has to get stronger, way faster than before. Strong enough to change the future itself. The scene shifts, and it's 7 days later. Lu Sheng and Snowy each carry a bag, waving goodbye to Mom and Dad as they get in the car. From a distance, his mom sighs, saying they've just gotten home, and now they're off again. His dad puts an arm around her and says they're headed to Snowy's place, and she's a good girl. It's probably time to settle down anyway. The two hold hands, and Snowy quietly asks our boy if he's nervous. He gives a small smile and replies that the question should really be aimed at her father, because honestly he thinks the one who's really nervous is him. The scene then shifts to Snowy's house, where her father holds a cup of coffee in one hand and a newspaper in the other. He takes a sip, only to get a mouthful of powder. He gets mad at himself for forgetting to add water. His wife asks if he's half asleep, questioning whoever drinks coffee powder straight. She pours in the hot water, while he quietly admits that, even as a grandmaster, he's nervous. She asks why he's so worked up, saying it's just a visit from their future son-in-law. But now, with him acting like this, even she starts to feel a little nervous too. The old man gives a bitter laugh, shaking his head. He mutters that his wife just doesn't get it, and says Lu Sheng isn't some ordinary young man. He's the god of the military, the peak of humanity, and the kind of person who crushed martial saints like they were nothing. Every title and every achievement he holds could make anyone's heart race, and yet, all of that belonged to just one man. His wife, sitting beside him, wonders out loud why someone so legendary would fall for their daughter. She admits the last few days felt like a blur, like she's been living in a dream. The old man reflects, saying he always thought having two sons was his life's proudest achievement, but turns out, the real honor was raising Snowy, their lovely little girl. She touches her cheek with a smile, joking that maybe they were just lucky, maybe they are blessed by their ancestors. She adds that how Snowy also takes after her. But the old man grumbles under his breath that if she really did, that'd be trouble. Then the phone on the table buzzes. It's a message from Snowy, saying they'll land in 3 minutes. The couple suddenly panics, fumbling to get ready. The old man feels the pressure, saying they need to alert everyone downstairs that Lu Sheng isn't just a son-in-law. He's someone to be treated like royalty. But his wife brings up another concern, pointing out that both the Qin and Wang families caught wind of the visit, and they're apparently heading to the airport too. She asks if that's all right. Should they be told to turn back? The old man quickly throws on his coat, waving off the idea. He explained that those families had already contacted him in advance, and since they're all old family friends, saying it should be fine. Then his wife nods and goes off to change her outfit as well. As the scene shifts to the airport, the plane touches down slowly. Rows of military officers stand at attention, all in uniform, all the while looking a bit nervous. However, everything's already been arranged, and as the plane doors open, Lu Sheng steps out holding Snowy's hand. Right in front of them are countless soldiers standing tall with the same face, literally. As one, they salute and shout, welcoming him and saying the cars are ready. Our boy looks at the scene and figures they're planning to clear the way for him all the way to their destination. He remembers when he first started training in martial arts, how he used to admire the powerful and the way they were treated, thinking they were like stars, always surrounded by crowds, always respected, and he used to think it was cool. But now, with strength and status both at their peak, he finds himself avoiding that flashy spotlight. He declares, deep down, that the higher up you are, the more distant life starts to feel, and he doesn't want to lose the small joys of just being a regular person. Snowy notices his mood and offers to go ahead on their own. He gives a light smile and agrees, saying she knows him well, that he's never liked grand entrances. Then, in a flash, he wraps an arm around her and the two of them vanish on the spot. Everyone at the airport freezes. Then chaos hits as they start shouting, shocked at where he went. The scene then shifts to a quiet street 10 kilometers away. They found themselves in a taxi. He gives the driver their address and the car rolls forward. The driver's cheerful and talkative, teasing that they must be celebrity couples or something. With looks and vibes like that, he says, they're the most stunning couple he's ever had in his cab. Lu Sheng gets a little embarrassed, mumbling that the driver's too smooth with his words. Then he leans in and whispers to Snowy, telling her to remember to tip the driver extra later, which makes her blush too. Half an hour passes. The cab finally pulls up, only to stop short. The road ahead is blocked, and a security line has been set up. Even the driver looks a little stunned, seeing thousands of people packing the place. The driver glances at the blocked road and asks if some big shot is expected. Then he wonders aloud if they will even be allowed through. Lu Sheng hands him the money and casually replies that it's fine, saying they'll sneak in. The driver laughs as he takes the money, joking they better not get caught and wishing them luck. Still, deep down, he figures the two must be from some powerful family. People like them probably lived around here anyway. At the side entrance, a crowd had already gathered. The two both feel it's a bit much, and our boy jokes that even meeting a future father-in-law turns into a public spectacle. That's when they spot Chin standing under a tree, smoking. The moment the two suddenly appear behind him, Chin jumps in surprise, only to quickly break into a smile. Lu Sheng lets out a mock huff and says he's fining Chin 10 hours of military posture for not saluting a top general. Chin protests, saying Lu Sheng's being ridiculous, and reminds him who helped him chase after Snowy in the first place. Lu Sheng steps forward, reaches out and says, "It's been a while, Instructor Chin." Chin pauses for a second, and realizes it's the same old Lu Sheng. He also reached out while repeating, "Long time no see, Lu Sheng." Then he asks if the two came back because of the latest news. Lu Sheng raises an eyebrow, asking what news he's talking about. Chin's surprised they haven't heard. He lowers his voice and explains, "It's about their god of the military, the same one who recently beat down all the world's martial saints and rolled out a groundbreaking new body-refining method and martial techniques. That training method," he declares, "was basically a once-in-history kind of deal." Snowy rubs her chin, curious, and asks if that guy is really as strong as the rumors say, and while they're at it, she wonders if Lu Sheng has ever fought him. That's when Lu Sheng remembers he hasn't spilled the beans to anyone but is surprised the military's kept it airtight. Still, with the way things are now, he suspects his father-in-law and a few others might already know what's going on. Meanwhile, Snowy keeps looking at him, clearly waiting for answers. What she doesn't know is that Lu Sheng's now wondering if she'll be mad when she finds out she's the last to know. Chin, now too curious to resist, steps closer and asks what really happened after he beat Zhao Ji. He explains that every time he tried to dig into it, it was marked top-level classified. He admits he's dying to know because, in his eyes, Lu Sheng's already at martial saint level, maybe just a tiny bit short of the other dude. Before Lu Sheng can even speak, Snowy cuts in and says since he already knows it's top secret, while adding that her man never even told her about it either. Lu Sheng then mutters, saying she never asked, which earns him a sharp side-eye from Snowy, basically trying to say how she's defending him and he just throws her under the bus. Chin laughs, then suggests they head inside and talk. He admits he assumed they already knew everything and had come back for that reason. Turns out, they didn't know any more than he did. But now Snowy is confused, asking why would someone that important would come to their home? Chin explains, saying it's not just them. The word going around is that this top figure is going on a bride selection tour, not only visiting her family, but also his own family, and eventually cycling through every major household in the capital and nearby cities. He points out that the higher someone's status, the more precious their genes are considered, and they know just how it is. Hearing this, Lu Sheng nearly choked and spat out a mouthful of blood. He stares at Chin in disbelief, muttering under his breath, "Who the hell made up this shit?"